Hi, this is Jeff Richards, Columbus, Ohio. You're listening to Barbecue Central.
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. And we broadcast live from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. If you want to jump into the show tonight, more than happy to have you. Two ways to do it. A phone call, 216-220-0966. Or if you want to try, and we'll be doing this very task later in the show, like 10:35. If you want to try the new call-in number, that's 216-277-2120. Again, 216-277-2120. That will actually get you to a call screener, not me. They will screen you out. Name, where you're calling from, what you want to talk about, assuming the screener doesn't sniff you out as being nefarious and or otherwise ready to commit shenanigans and tomfoolery. He will forward you to me. You will then hear the show, so you're like in the queue. If you can hear the show, you are in the queue, and then I will try and pick you up as I can. So once again, that test call-in line, if you want to try it out, 216-277-2120. And again, we'll try that as a whole test segment around 10:35, and I'll get into that here in a second. Or if you want to email the show...
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the main show and the main website can all be found there, the bbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, and I have to tell you, it has been a long time coming. I mean, literally for years we have been talking about this. I have been efforting and re-efforting for months and months on end as my grassroots plights and movements have kind of come up on deaf ears as it relates to my quest to get into the BBQ Hall of Fame for less than pure reasons. Tonight, we finally break through. Show karma is shining down on us. And at 9:14, we will indeed have Emily Park from the World Series of Barbecue to talk about the BBQ Hall of Fame. I'm not exactly sure how that actually came to be. I have been emailing. Some might call it incessantly, especially over the last handful of weeks, when I somehow got my hands on the official list or short list of folks that were nominees to be in the class of 2018. Then a week later, the 2018 class was announced, which I'll get into here in just a second. And I redoubled down on trying to get it in. So I've had it locked up more or less for about 2 weeks and just working on the final details, how we're going to be connecting, who I was actually going to be talking with. And this will be Emily Park, who is the events manager at the World Series of Barbecue. I'm not sure if she's ever heard the show. I'm not sure if she knows where I currently stand on the BBQ Hall of Fame. However, that will become glaringly apparent as we go through that interview. Nothing will be malicious. Nothing is going to be Jerry Springer-like or anything like that, but I will obviously be asking all of the questions to Emily that I have been asking to the Centralite and listening public here for the last 36 months, 48 months, you name it, however long I've been campaigning for myself to get into the BBQ Hall of Fame. So that will be Emily Park at 9:14. Very excited for that. Then we will move on to 9:35, and a longtime listener and very loyal Centralite, Dennis Bussow, will be joining me out of Colorado. And he attended the most recent version of BBQ University that is put on by third Tuesday of the month guest, Stephen Raichlen. For like 15 or 16 years, he's been doing some version of this cooking class. And he does it at very high-level resorts. Originally, it was at the Greenbrier in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. It has since moved there and has been at the Broadmoor for the last number of years. I don't even remember the last year that it was at the Broadmoor. I'm sorry, that it was at the Greenbrier in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. But the Broadmoor is where it's at now. Dennis went as a paying guest, so I thought it would be great to get a first-hand account from him, somebody who has the Centralites' best interest in mind, will be able to give us an ROI thought on it, or return on investment, also a QPR, quality price ratio, what went down, menu items, access to Stephen, everything that he had encountered a handful of weeks ago, he will be able to unveil right to us. So if you have been on the fence, and look, I get it. If you look that up online or you go through barbecuebible.com and you look at that whole BBQ University package, I don't know if it necessarily jumps out to you as a cooking class like we showcase here on the show from time to time, especially when it comes to the pitmasters or the competition cooks at least, or some of those Traeger shop classes we've been talking about recently. But this is done at a luxurious resort, so you're probably looking for a certain amount of downtime when you're doing this, but you also want to get in your cooking, or at least say you got into some cooking. So we'll be able to get that true breakdown from somebody that was there and will give us an honest opinion. He was not comped by Stephen to come in as any type of media member. However, shout out to Stephen. I'm totally down for that. If you want to hike my very wiry ass out there and look it up and hook it up from a media perspective, we'll do live everyday breakdowns if you want, whatever it takes for you to get me out there and my wife. That will be great. Totally open to that. Let's talk about that off air and make that happen next time around. But Dennis will be talking about his recap of BBQ University at the Broadmoor in Colorado. Then we'll move to the second hour. A couple years ago, we had this guy on right as his company was launching called Crowd Cow. A couple years later, this thing is a monster. People are all about wanting to know where their beef is coming from, grass-fed stuff, ranchers that are sustainable, ranchers that are responsible. Everybody wants to know everything about beef now, especially those conscious consumers. Crowd Cow is filling that niche. Not only that, Joe, who will be my guest at 10:14 and who was my first-time guest a couple years ago, Joe Heitzberg, has spent an inordinate amount of time over in the Far East, Japan to be exact, in the Kobe region, and he will be able to talk expertly about Wagyu, Kobe, the differences, the misconceptions, the stereotypes, and how Crowd Cow is actually importing the highest levels of beef that you can possibly get your hands on. I don't know if there's an easier way to get your hands on this beef except going through Crowd Cow. We'll learn how you can do it, how you can become a steak holder. You see what I did there? Because that's what it's called. What the prices are, what kind of cuts you can get, all the good stuff. And that will be Joe Heitzberg at 10:14. And then at 10:35, or depending on how Joe's interview goes, because we might run over a little bit to an extra segment, that's when we'll be definitely trying out that new calling system so we can see if the screening capabilities actually works. 216-277-2120. Again, that's 216-277-2120. If you want to try at the top of the second hour, 10 o'clock Eastern, You can certainly try it then. That's usually when we have some open. Or in the 10:35. So stick around. Help me out. This is me asking you for help. 216-277-2120. The first voice you hear is not going to be mine. It will be a screener. And then eventually, if you make it through into the queue, you will hear the show live as it is happening. I don't think there's any like you get on FM radios and stuff like that. But this is as close it gets to regular radio pickups, whatever that means anymore. So I'm asking for your help there as we close out the second hour. Looking forward to it. Emily Park coming up out of the break. Let me talk to you quickly about Southside Market and barbecue. Attention, folks in the business of barbecue, all you food truckers, restaurant owners, caterers, all the good stuff. But what do you know about Southside Market and barbecue? Well, I can tell you this. They're established in 1882. That makes Southside Market and Barbecue the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. They offer premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real wood, shipping, distributing, manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S. As I had mentioned earlier, from food trucks to multi-chain restaurants, Southside sausage can be on your menu as well, and it's delicious. All meats are processed in their on-site USDA-inspected facility. How many other places that you're able to buy from have a USDA inspection facility on their site? Few, I would imagine. They're a trusted partner with a focus on quality and authenticity. Wholesale options available. You can ship nationwide through FedEx, also available through food service distribution such as Sysco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods. Co-packaging available. From research and development to package completion, they can follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new. Here's the most important part. Private label opportunities also available. What does that mean? That means if I want to have Barbecue Central beef sausage, I don't have to go through the painstaking efforts of trying to develop my own beef sausage recipe, then taking it to Southside, trying them to get to match it up, and then we're off and running. No. I already know I love Southside Market's beef sausage. It's like their claim to fame. It's absolutely delicious. But now I can partner with them. I can use their already successful beef sausage, put the Barbecue Central Show name on it. That's private labeling, using their product, putting my name on it, and now we both win. I have a product line and a revenue stream generated in the Barbecue Central Show that I didn't have. And Southside Market and Barbecue is selling their beef sausage to me so I can sell it to you. Everybody wins. Private labeling, you got to look into it. Southside Market's the place you want to partner with. SouthsideMarket.com, 10% off coupon for online orders with code BBQ Central. One word, BBQ Central, for 10% off all online orders at SouthsideMarket.com. Barbecue Hall of Fame talk, finally. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And this portion of the show is being brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauce, grilling oils, all of Butcher Barbecue products tested on the competition circuit to high success, as well as in the backyard. Be the pitmaster or king of your cul-de-sac. Visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now, and I will be talking to you more about Dave Bosca here in the second hour. Again, that's butcherbbq.com. Always trust your butcher. If you are a fan of this show, you know I have been one of the more vocal personalities as it relates to the Barbecue Hall of Fame. For a few years now, I've been chasing down someone to do the show so we can talk about it in all aspects. And tonight, the dream comes true. Let's go ahead and race to the Traeger Grills hotline and welcome the event manager for the World Series of Barbecue, Emily Park, joining me here on the show. Emily, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Absolutely fabulous, Emily. Appreciate you making time for the show this evening. And a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and kind of jump right into it. I guess before we talk about the Hall of Fame and all that kind of encompasses and how it works, maybe a little bit of background on you personally and how you get involved with the World Series of Barbecue.
Absolutely. So I am the manager of the World Series of Barbecue. I have been in this role for, now I'm going into my third barbecue here with the American Royal. And really my main duty is to make sure that I get the best of the best on the ground, have them have a great weekend, do what they do best, which is cooking and preparing the best barbecue in the world. And I step back and watch all the magic happen. So I'm honored to have this career and to bring everybody together for barbecue, for the sake of barbecue. I've been an event planner for many years, and I'm from Kansas City, and being from Kansas City, your heart is always with barbecue. So when the opportunity arose, I couldn't step away.
Emily Park joining me here on the show, event manager, World Series of Barbecue. By the way, the website, BBQHallOfFame.com, if you haven't checked it out already. If you're a fan of the show, I know you've checked it out. The history of the Barbecue Hall of Fame, Emily, what can you tell us about how it started? And then there was some type of either buyout or transition between that weird online presence that it had initially existed to when the Barbecue Hall of Fame or the American Royal took it over.
Absolutely. So it was a little before my time, but I will speak to what I know, and that's that back in 2011, the American Royal was approached by two gentlemen and kind of a group of collective people who had created what is now known as the Barbecue Hall of Fame. They created it to honor the legacy of many of those who have changed the atmosphere of barbecue. They approached the American Royal and asked us to basically keep it going, and we gladly accepted it. So we are here to basically preserve the Barbecue Hall of Fame. So in 2011, we kind of worked through that. We took the rights in 2012. In 2012, any of those previously inducted members, we added into our honorary list. And then we kind of started the process with their guidance of how to continue this and how to get new inductees every year. So in 2012, a large committee, and this included quite a few folks from the barbecue community here in Kansas City, came together and kind of created the procedures, if you would, to get the three inductees. So at the time, they created the three categories, which if you've spent any time on the website, you've seen those before, but there was celebrity, humanitarian, pitmaster, and business industry. So that was for some time. That was up until last year. And the process of voting has kind of changed throughout the years, and I'm happy to dive into that if that's where you want me to go. But from the standpoint of the American Royal, really we're the holders of this. The Barbecue Hall of Fame is not the American Royal Barbecue Hall of Fame, but really honors much more than what we get the ability to do.
In 2012, when you guys took it over, was there one person out of that committee that kind of spearheaded the operation from taking it over from the online and making it more of your own vision?
I think there was a group of people who had many ideas from what I understand. But I do know that the two gentlemen who brought it to us basically told us to keep what they had going and improve on it. There were some members of the committee that actually were still members of the committee as of this last year that were there when it all transitioned over. So I can't personally say exactly what happened there, but I know that the legacy of the people on our group, too, have kind of remained the same.
Emily Park joining me here on the show from World Series of Barbecue. Emily, as the new version of the Hall of Fame starts with you guys, was there any conversation about doing let's call it a mass induction that first year to build a very large inclusionary base of inductees? For instance, and this is a recent example, someone like a Columbus B. Hill or some other outliers that might be more relatively unknown barbecuers, and maybe it's just because like Columbus, not a lot of documentation through them, like a lot of the slave people that don't have a lot of documents unless you have ledgers, because, at some point they were included as like horses and cattle and chickens, if you can believe it. So, and then go, after you have this wide base of induction, have more of a defined scope like it has been since that 2012 year.
Absolutely. And you know what? That comes up every year, I can tell you that. And I know it came up there in the past. I mean, how do you take hundreds and hundreds of folks who have changed the world of barbecue and narrow it down to three? It's an insanely difficult thing to do. So how did we get to this point? So I do know that in the beginning, there were, because the World Series, or the BBQ Hall of Fame, there are some things that we want to honor back out. So there are financial obligations with that. So I do know there were some things to that matter in building what this was. You kind of difficult, I guess, to start a whole BBQ Hall of Fame without some sort of backing. And that's something that we as the American Royal are trying to improve upon, to give it its own standing name and its own standing events and that kind of thing. So when we received it, the committee at the time structured it on 3 inductees. Now, it remained that way for a couple of years, and to the exact reason I can't say per se, but I know that the current committee is kind of fighting this a little bit. How are we want to change this. The initial step was last year by removing the categories. How can you say that someone who's impacted barbecue is only a pitmaster? I mean, it was so difficult to put someone in such a small category. So that was the real thing we wanted to do last year to really impact this. And I think that we're open to having more. I mean, we want to induct more, and we see a big future in this. So I speak, I guess, for the entire committee and, my colleagues when I say that this is a growing thing, and, we've had it and been honored to have it for 7 years, but we've only had it for 7 years, so there's so much more to come.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the Hall of Fame specifics. Is there a standalone committee that is solely responsible right now for the Hall of Fame, and who are they? Absolutely.
So there is a committee. It currently holds 9 members. Those members include barbecue event planners, like myself. You have many authors and business industry, all in barbecue. And of these, there are only 3 from Kansas City. So we really try to diversify this group and get people outside of maybe just our region, but really speak to the entire nation and world, really, for that regard, and get everyone's insight. So we are continuing to take members to this committee, and they can apply and be part of it, and they're voted on from the past inductees to see if they could be on this committee. And so the process of that then is those committee members, the current group, receive applications for about 7 months, and we take them all in, and they are all reviewed for many weeks because, as you would assume, there's a lot of information. And then that committee reduces those down to 9 through a rigorous process of, in lack of better word, arguing in a good way to really pick those 9 that should be voted on. And then those 9 are taken to all past inductees. And if the inductee has passed, then selected probably one of their family or business members, as well as the committee members get to vote on their top 3.
So do the 9 members also vote on who would eventually get into the Hall of Fame?
They do have that vote currently, yes.
Okay, and then all of the inductees get votes as well.
Yep, and they get 3 votes too. And so when we're receiving those applications, right now, or at least in the past 2 years, we've actually changed the process of the applications as well. So when I started, we used to get emails and snail mail and however you got it, and there wasn't really any criteria per se to put someone in other than saying this person is a great pitmaster. And that sometimes was all the information we got. So, which is very valid, but we needed more. So in the last few years, we created an online application form, and there are questions that are required to fill out that include, a list of any awards or honors, if there are any, how they've impacted the barbecue community, what categories, if any, they fit into, and can they fit into all. And then when we receive these, we've gotten about 75 in the last 2 years, each year separately. And of those, about 25 are, of the 75, there's many duplicates. So it actually is about 25 actual folks who are inducted from 75 people. So then that 25 is what dwindles down, I guess, if you would, to the 9.
Okay, so how many names, or is that the 75 that you're talking about? Like over each, so this year, how many entries of people did you get to be eventually brought in to whittle down to 9 to be voted on? So it was 75 people?
Yeah, my apologies. I think I said that a little confusing. So there were 75 nominations, but of those 75 nominations, only 25 unique names. So many are duplicates.
Really?
So yeah, so I know sometimes there'll be 10 for the same person. Now, can I say that they don't have a group of their friends going in saying, nominate me as many times as possible? That I don't know. But you never know. And we get a lot of duplicates. But to that point, we also get someone who is a backyard barbecuer who's changed their community, which is just as impactful to a community as it is to our nation. So we get the gamut, which is, it's great. It's very interesting.
So you had mentioned that there are fairly heated debates, or there are heated debates between who should be picked and who should move on, who shouldn't. Is there a visible or tangible set of criteria? You look at a bunch of other halls of fame, for instance, sports, some you have to have been retired for so many years, and then you have had to have surpassed these benchmarks in order to be really considered. And you're also voted by sports writers or whoever it is. Is there a tangible criteria that people can go out and look at on the BBQ Hall of Fame website to see how their potential nominees would fit the bill?
We don't currently, but I do think that's something we're going to add. We have gotten that feedback, and I'm actually glad you brought that up, because we want to make this a little bit more transparent. So if someone they need to know the knowledge of what they're applying for, if you would, for the nominee, and what they need to know beforehand. Now, I will state that we're not as rigid as maybe some of the other Hall of Fame processes, which though makes it a little more arbitrary to be inducted. So our questions are much more broad. And I think this is just because, how can I say that someone who's been doing it for 50 years and someone who's been doing it for 25 years haven't both very much impacted the world of barbecue in their own right? So that's something that, and that's part of our argument, the good arguments that we have to have, and the ones that might last hours, but go to the point of where we really want to make sure that our goal is get the people who really have impacted barbecue. And how do we do that? Yeah.
Emily, one of the criticisms of the way the current setup is a glaring lack of minorities, and also, and maybe it's a perceived slant, but depending on how you look at those current people that are in there, maybe not so much, a slant towards competition cooks. Can you see where that view is valid?
We definitely have heard that too. And, sometimes, unfortunately, it's by who's getting nominated. No one on the committee nominates. I will tell you that. It's kind of part of our, if you would call them, our bylaws. We're not nominating. We just receive the information. So I can't say if we're going to have a bunch of women nominated or a bunch of men nominated, or kind of how it is racially diverse. But our biggest goal is not necessarily to look at the person as their race or gender, but rather their impact. And that's something that we always have to do. And it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, because we want the group to be diverse. It is a diverse community. It is. And you want to honor that, but we also just really want to see who's impacting. And I think that I apologize. I think I've used that word quite a bit, but I really mean it when I say impact to the barbecue. What have they done rather than maybe their background or culture?
Is it potentially dangerous to leave nominations up to the voting public? I mean, one of us might have used his platform to say, hey, if they're offering the general public to vote for people, why not vote for Emily or why not vote for me? And maybe one of us has maybe seen their name thrown up here that might host this show every so often.
You know, I'm not going to lie. I've seen your name come through. I won't lie to you there.
You know, I've never seen it on that final list. Jeez, oh man.
It could be coming.
Could be.
It could be coming.
So, I mean, is it potentially dangerous to leave it up to the voting public?
Yes and no. You know, and this is another thing that we talk about is, so you leave it up to the public, and maybe it's, think about like a all-star game. It's, you know, a little bit more like that. Are we just voting in someone because someone's more popular at the time?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is, we don't want to necessarily do. You know, we don't want to necessarily put someone in the Hall of Fame who's just popular, whereas we need to put someone in who really should be in the BBQ Hall of Fame. And that is something we struggle with. But on the flip side of that, you know, how can you not ask the people? How can you not really get the feedback from everybody and really get the feedback? You know, how do you get this broader scope of people to vote? And so I think that's why we have it currently opened up to our past Hall of Fame members. Because if you look at that group, it is pretty, you know, it's a broad group of people who have been inducted from all over the nation, who in their own respect have their own profession, a barbecue. So we try to hammer into that as much as we can, but I agree with you. It's kind of a slippery slope. So what do we do? But it's a conversation that's still being had. Can we open it up more? What does it look like? How far does it get opened up? Who really votes on it? And I foresee that this is something that would be continued to talk about, and maybe we don't have the final answer yet, but I would say I'm very proud of the procedure now, and that we've really selected some great people.
Is there, by the way, we're talking with Emily Park from the World Series of Barbecue. Oklahoma has a Barbecue Hall of Fame that's specific to them. IBCA has just opened one. Can you have too many barbecues, halls of fames, and is the World Series of Barbecue or your Barbecue Hall of Fame looking to cover a certain specific, or are you looking to be the overriding, or would you like to bring everybody under the World Series of Barbecue Hall of Fame moniker, if you will?
That's a really interesting, you know, way to look at it, to bring them under it all. I will tell you from our perspective, we have a lack of a better word, a 5-year plan. What do we foresee for the future of the Barbecue Hall of Fame? And we want to grow it. We want it to be have the same stance and legs as other sporting Hall of Fames. And it's not that big right now, and I think that's why other folks have opened their own. But what I fear is that they're missing is the broader reach. You know, try to look outside your region and see a bigger scope of barbecue. And that's really what we want to honor. So I don't think that we would ever, you know, snub the other ones for at all, because everyone's kind of has the same passion and goal in mind. And, you know, maybe one day we'll all come together and make this big, robust one. But right now, you know, what they're doing is great as well. And we're just going to continue ours, and ideally in the next couple of years, grow it bigger and better. And, you know, the American Royal is the host of the Barbecue Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. And
we're looking to have a new facility in the next, you know, 3 to 5 years. And within that facility, you know, what is barbecue of our new facility? What does that look like? That's the things we're looking at now, and how we can grow this piece as well.
Emily, last question here before I let you go, and I appreciate the time tonight, and I cannot not ask this question or I'll get crucified.
Okay.
How is Guy Fieri in the Barbecue Hall of Fame? I mean, all kidding aside, doesn't that kind of pull at the integrity of the Barbecue Hall of Fame? He's not a barbecue guy, Hall of Fame-wise.
That question is something that we've been asked before, and I think that was probably one of the reasons that the pillars came down, if you would. You know, he was put into the celebrity humanitarian silo, and at the time he was. You know, I wasn't personally there at the time to see how that voting and everything happened, but I can't sit here and say that he hasn't impacted barbecue. Maybe has he impacted it in a different way than some of the current inductees? Absolutely. But, you know, he has really changed the scope of, you know, food and the nation of food and how that looks too. So, you know, he's a little bit different if you look at some of the other bios, but once again, like I said before, you kind of got to honor them all. And I think that, you know, our role as kind of changing the scope of the inductee process and opening up those silos a little more gives us more folks to look at instead of maybe just a celebrity.
Emily Park is the event manager at the World Series of Barbecue. BBQHallOfFame.com is the website. Emily, really appreciate the time tonight. Thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You got it. There she is, Emily Park. And I do believe we are under an audio issue here, so I apologize for that.
All guests appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
I will look into that here in just a second. I think you can only hear one side of the conversation at the moment. And yeah, well, I think I know what the issue is. I reset the computer and the Roland didn't make the connection, and that's why you didn't hear Emily, but that's all right. Luckily, the podcast recording is 100% pure. I'll try and re-hook up the sound on the other side so you can hear Dennis in just a second. I'll talk to you quickly about Traeger grills. Behind every great meal is a great grill, but not just any grill, a Traeger grill, and the Timberline's Traeger's most advanced grill yet. It allows you to grill, smoke, bake, roast, braise, and barbecue like a pro, no matter what your level, thanks to the incredible wood-fired taste. Seriously, you don't know flavor till you're cooking with it. Traeger grills use all-natural wood pellets as fuel, so you're literally cooking with flavor. From low and slow smoked ribs to a seared steak, even a baked apple pie, Traeger's can handle it all, and the Traeger Timberline makes it even easier thanks to the Wi-Fi capability. You can check on your cooks, kick up temperatures, and set custom cook cycles anytime, anywhere, all right on your phone through the Traeger Grill app. In fact, I need to go check out my brisket right now. Well, actually, you should go look at one at your local Traeger dealer, or you can check them out online at TraegerGrills.com. If you want to beef up your barbecue game, the Traeger Shop class is going coast to coast, bringing barbecue knowledge and amazing wood-fired food everywhere they go. Taught by professional pitmasters, you'll take home all the skills you need to reach barbecue glory. Find a shop class near you and sign up today. TraegerGrills.com/shopclass. That's TraegerGrill.com/shopclass. Stick with me as I try and redo the backside of audio on the guests, and Dennis Bussow will be joining me right after this. Stick around, be right back.
Ready to get on the air? Call 216-220-0966. Now, let's get back to the LeBron James of barbecue talk. Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit amazon.com to purchase as well. Chris Becker and the gang out there at Cookin' Pellets. Appreciate that. Also appreciate Emily Park for answering questions that a lot of you on pretty much any side of the audio, Facebook, and or otherwise didn't get the podcast. That's why we have it. I can tell you it recorded very smoothly. Hey, the third Tuesday of the month, I'm joined by BBQ Hall of Famer Stephen Raichlen. And the last time he was on, we were talking about his BBQ University class that he puts on at the Broadmoor Resort in Colorado. Always sounds like a great time, but what is the perspective from someone who's taken the class as a student? Those questions will be answered right here in this segment. Let's go to the Traeger Grills hotline and welcome longtime Central Light, first-time guest to the show, Dennis Bussow. Dennis, how are you, buddy?
Good, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous. Dennis, appreciate you making time for the show. You have your camera available by chance?
I do. It's on, I think.
I don't think so. I can't see you. No?
Figures.
All right. That's all right. So, okay, hold on one second here. Test. Well, hopefully everything's working all right. Let's go a little background on you, Dennis, first before we get into your experience at the Broadmoor. What you like to cook and when you got interested in live fire cooking.
Well, Greg, like most of us, I started when I was really young, about 18 years old, and barbecuing and live fire cooking kind of worked out with the Colorado lifestyle around here. A lot of outdoors, a lot of camping, those kinds of things. So it was just kind of a natural fit. And from there, I just fell in love with, dealing with the fire, dealing with the coals, learning about new flavors and techniques, all the new gadgets, of course, that come with barbecuing. There's plenty of those that fill up your patio, things like that. So that's kind of where it started with. And of course, like most people, it wasn't long and I stumbled across Stephen on public television and started to watch a lot of his shows. And I know that you've even mentioned in the past that, if they're running a marathon of Stephen Raichlen things in the on the weekends, that obviously you'll sit down and start to watch them or tape them. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of the same way. I like to do the same kind of thing.
Dennis Bussow joining me.
It's always fun to catch on and see what's going on. So when I first became aware that he actually held a class, I was, of course, very interested, but it was clear out on the East Coast. And so as a young man, that was just unreachable. And it wasn't until I got older that I discovered that he moved to the Broadmoor, and then it became one of those bucket list items that, all of us want to put on there and see what goes on.
Dennis Bussow joining me here on the show. Dennis, so aside, I guess, from it being closer to you, was there any other motivating factor for you to want to take the class?
I've always admired Stephen and his type of barbecuing and grilling, his experience that he has, and the flavors that he brings from all around the world. So that was really one of the big motivations, is that, it was a chance to get an opportunity to learn from a Hall of Famer, for somebody that has been in it for a long time and obviously has written many, many books about the subject, and kind of have a chance to pick his brain and learn as much as I possibly could from him.
Dennis, what is the Broadmoor like from an amenities standpoint? Once you get up there and you unpack and stuff, before you even worry about what BBQ University is going to be like, what's the setup like just from a high level at the Broadmoor?
So it's kind of like driving up to a movie set. You picture these high-end hotels with all the personnel out front, all in uniforms and caps, and you've got Maseratis and Ferraris parked out front, and you come rolling up in your 2008 Impala, and they all come rushing out to, open the doors for you and grab your suitcases and, usher you into this beautiful building. It's 100 years old this year, and it's immaculate. It's kept up really well. The grounds are picture perfect. It looks like a postcard when you arrive. So it's incredible.
Let's talk about the class a little bit. First of all, I guess, first and foremost, what's the cost of the class?
So the classes start off around $2,100, and that really is based on the room that you choose. It goes up from there. So depending on how many people you're bringing or what kind of room you would prefer, you can take it from $2,100 all the way up to probably $4,000 for 3 nights. And that includes the class, breakfast, and lunch are also included. So those are part of it. And then the amenities on the grounds, there's everything from guided Jeep tours and a full water park, bowling, archery, world-class golf courses are there. There's a theater there. There's performing theaters also where they bring in, musicians, and there's all kinds of concerts. There's a lot of things to do just on the grounds. The campus for this facility is huge. It sits at about 8,000 feet right at the foot of the Rockies, and Pikes Peak is a short drive up the mountain to get to it. So it's surrounded by beautiful things to do outside of the campus also.
What kind of a class length is it? How many days you in?
So you arrive on day 1, and you have kind of a meet and greet that night with Stephen. And then you go into the classes, which are 3 days. They run from 9 in the morning till around noon, but you get there at about 8 and have breakfast first. And Stephen is there at that time, setting up, talking with people. He also displays, like this year, we were getting a chance to see kind of behind the curtains of his new Project Fire show. And he enabled us to see the unedited versions of things. So you could see the bloopers. You could hear his track of announcer going through the dialogue that later he would record in a studio or partially record and put on the TV. So that was kind of interesting to get a little peek behind the curtain. And we were the only people to really ever see that besides the production crew at that point.
What kind of a syllabus or daily activities are going on, and what's on the menu each day?
So when you arrive at the meet and greet, Stephen, first of all, it's amazing because he makes an effort to get around to everybody at the meet and greet and say hi and talk to you and, find out why you're there, what's going on, and where you came from. There are people from all over the world that come to this thing. So you get people from Guatemala, you get people from Montreal, you get people from Australia coming in for this. So it's quite the deal. And he finds out a little bit about everybody, and a chance for you to ask questions and see what's going on. And then when you get back to your room, you have a surprise package waiting for you that has a really nice leather-bound folder, and the menus for the next 3 days are all listed on there. There's roughly 10 to 12 dishes that he cooks each day. But the best part is he throws in a whole bunch of extra things, especially if you're interested. So if you walk up to him and go, I saw this thing on YouTube and this guy was doing this. He goes, I've never seen that. Let's try it. And he'll call back to the staff that's behind the scenes. They'll come out with some produce and, protein and whatever you need, and he'll give you an opportunity to cook it. So my first year there, which was actually last year, I ended up cooking the meals that I volunteered for, and it is a volunteer basis. And in addition to that, he probably had me do 10 or 12 other dishes over the 3 days.
Really?
So by the time I was done, I felt like I got my money's worth for sure on cooking things.
What's your favorite cooker that is on display there? Which one would you like to take home if you could?
It's so hard because there's 30 to 40 different barbecues sitting out there and smokers. Anything from a fireplace that's actually out there to a pit barrel to an art flame to a Kalamazoo. So you can get a little bit of everything. I love the Kalamazoo, obviously, because you can have that big drawer and slide wood in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's really nice. That thing's a lot of fun, but it's obviously very pricey. So there's a wood burning oven in there. Probably one of my favorites, though, is the big ranch kettle that he has.
Yeah.
That thing's like 4 foot in diameter. It's just massive, and it's a lot of fun. You can cook all kinds of things on that thing.
Dennis, what kind of a live fire attendee, from your view, Is there, in other words, would you call yourself like the top pitmaster of all guests, or do you feel that there were others that were on your level or maybe even higher?
You know, you get people who are very new to grilling. The couple that I met from Guatemala, they actually have a very tiny hibachi on a very tiny a deck in their apartment, because a lot of the grilling is actually done down in the streets by vendors there. And so they can just walk down to the first floor of their building, walk out on the street and get just about anything they want that's grilled up by somebody else. So they were kind of new at it. But the cool thing was Stephen found out that there's a dish that they knew. And so he had them actually get up in front of the class and teach the class this dish from Guatemala. And they cooked it all up, and we got a chance to sample it and eat it. And he does that a lot with a variety of people. Then there's people like this year, Tim, who I met. He is a competition pitmaster. He's out on the road competing, cooking briskets, him and his wife on the trail through the whole summer. So it was kind of interesting to meet them and hear their perspective on things. And both of them, by the way, by the end of the class, were more than eager to come back again and thought it was well worth it.
Were there any media types that you could make out there or that announced themselves as somebody that was kind of covering the event?
You know, you get people in from the Broadmoor, of course, that are in there taking coverage. There was somebody from a magazine there, because I received a copy of that just today in the mail, that was taking some still photos and a little story behind it. And then, of course, when Stephen's not doing the classes, some of his time is spent going into Colorado Springs or Denver and going to the local television stations and doing shows on there, and also promoting his, you know, the latest book or the latest show that he's got going on.
What kind of access to Stephen do you have after hours? You had mentioned that if you showed up at 8 o'clock, he was there and let you behind the curtain a little bit. But after the fact, does he like disappear and you never see him again? Or on the contrary, do you see him around the property and you can just saunter up to him and have a conversation about book writing or live fire cooking or what have you?
Yeah, he is available. He is around the grounds. We've seen him multiple times and spoke with him. He also went Saturday night. I think he went bowling there, and so some people from the class actually joined in on the bowling. And you know, he's extremely accessible, very knowledgeable, and probably one of the nicest guys that have had an opportunity to be around. He does a good job of answering everybody's questions, and he never seems to be impatient about it or like you're taking his time.
For a return on investment, or as I like to call it, the QPR quality price ratio, you see $2,100, you bug out a little bit, and it sounds like that might be where the basement is, and it can only go up from there. For 3 days, for I don't know if it's 3 or 4 hours a day, in the end, is it worth it to bone out? I mean, for me, it would also have to be plane tickets there and back and some other stuff, but all in all, it's worth it?
You know, I considered it worth it, and everybody that I talked to seemed to feel it was worth it. There are people that have been to that particular class 13 times in a row.
Really?
There were people in our class that had been there. This was their 7th and 8th year.
Wow.
There was a young man that was there with his father that started at age 12, and he was like 18 now. So I kind of related to, is it worth getting floor seats to your favorite basketball team for the playoffs? You're going to pay that extra money, yeah, but the experience that you get by being on the floor and hearing all the sounds and the conversations that you don't pick up in the nosebleed section can make it worth it. So if barbecuing and grilling is your thing, then I think, yes, it definitely is.
Quickly, Dennis, tell me about the upcoming Denver Barbecue Festival. I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, this is one of the first times we've had a barbecue festival in Denver, and it's kind of partially put on by one of your buddies at GQ Barbecue.
Nice.
And they're bringing in some pretty big names. They've got Peg Leg Poker coming in and Ponderosa Barbecue with Mo. They've got the people, Brad and Brooke from The Shed are coming in. Just off their win at Memphis in May.
Yep.
So Salt Lick Barbecue's coming in. Ubon Barbecue's coming in. We've got people coming from the south, from the north, and from Kansas City and Iowa. So I think it's going to be a really good variety.
When is that?
That's Father's Day weekend,
Oh,
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday is a VIP event. I'll be going to that. And yes, I'll be wearing my Barbecue Central shirt to that.
Damn right.
So,
attaboy.
So we'll be trying to get some more people to tune in.
If you are on the fence about BBQ University, Dennis is saying, well, worth it, and the experience and the memories that you'll have to carry away from the event as well. He is a longtime Centralite and a alum of BBQ University, Dennis Bussow. Dennis, really appreciate the feedback. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Greg. It was great being on the show.
You got it. There he is. Dennis, see, if you are a listener, you could be on this show.
Appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
You don't have to always shuck out $21 or $4,200 or anything like that to be on the show. And if you want to pay me to do that so you can be on the show, I mean, hey, we can talk about it. But he's got good perspective, laid out some good anecdotes, brought the energy, speaks well. Great guest material right there. Thank you, Dennis, for doing that. Longtime Centralite from Colorado. Next time you're in town, Dennis, we will hook up and do that barbecue thing as long as the sports don't interfere. I believe we have the audio worked out as well, waiting for some feedback from John Dawson of Patio Daddio. Let me talk to you quickly about Cook Shack, makers of smoker ovens for barbecue lovers with any amount of experience, whether you barbecue in the backyard, on the competition circuit, or in a 5-star dining facility. Cook Shack has the unit that will do the job, and with a full line of barbecue sauces, spices, pellets, and wood chunks, it's the perfect one-stop shop. Cook Shack strives to be your barbecue resource center by offering cooking classes, online recipes, how-to videos, 2 blogs, smoking, grilling 101s, and a video cooking classroom. Check out their website at cookshack.com, or follow them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, and Google+. Get advice and share your passion for barbecue on their world-class barbecue forum. Cook Shack pellet-fired smokers are the choice of champions because they were designed by a champion, Ed Fast Eddie Morin. The FEC 100 and PG 1000, always customer favorites. The PG 1000 actually doubles as a smoker and a grill. Low and slow, hot and fast, the pellet grill line gives you the most for your money. If you're not into the pellet stuff or the other items that Cook Shack offers, you can check out one of their electric smokers. They're only the #1 smoker in the industry. High quality means high durability and versatility. Anything you can cook in your oven, you can make in a Cook Shack. Passion, dedication drives Cook Shack's manufacturing, with quality always being the top priority. Get the best in barbecue since 1962. Call 800-423-0698. That's 800-423-0698. Or visit the website cookshack.com. That's cookshack.com. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show in full sound on the Barbecue Central Network.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Hey, Smoking with Smithfield committed cooks, make sure to head to smokingwithsmithfield.com and report your first place prizes or wins to claim your prizes. Have you registered to compete in the American Royal Pork Loin Ancillary? Smithfield just increased the prize purse to $6,000. Make sure you sign up at the American Royal website. And finally, don't forget to sign up for the Smithfield Classic, which will be in Richmond, Virginia on September 29th. To sign up, reach out to Jesse at Big Papa Smokers. That's Jesse, Jessie, Jesse at bigpapasmokers.com. Thanks to the good folks over at Smithfield. All right. Semi-hellacious technical first hour, but podcasters will be none the different, and most of you are podcasters, so I'll stop saying it to belabor the point. I believe we're all set on the backside here for the Facebookers that are listening live. Sorry you missed that audio on the Hall of Fame talk. I did not do that on purpose. I did not.
Andrew, you are not.
I did not do that on purpose, so I don't want to hear about it. To her credit, by the way, Emily did answer all the questions. She did mention that she has seen my name being nominated. I gotta say, quite a abysmal amount of names being nominated. I'll recap that here as we get into the second hour. Let's refresh drinks. Let's all say that we'll come back here in about 2 to 3 minutes. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. Be right back.
BBQ Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners. But listen, Laverne, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Top men working on it right now. You're in the second hour of the Barbecue Central Show. Congratulations. You've done it. It's the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. We do it live every Tuesday evening from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. If you missed the first hour, you can go back and get that podcast. That was released on Wednesday. You're listening to this version here on Thursday. That's the complete second hour. Still to come, Joe Heitzberg from Crowd Cow. Also, I'll be trying to check out the new call-in feature. So who knows what will happen with that. If you want to try that right now, we might be able to work up something. 216-277-2120. There may or may not be a screener that shows up on that. Name, where you're calling from, what you want to talk about. You get forwarded to me. You'll hear the show live. At that point, I will try and pick you up where I can fit you in. 216-277-2120. If you're listening to this on Thursday, don't call in now. Don't do that. Had guest audio for the last 10 at the bottom of the hour. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, John. That is John Dawson, who, by the way, was attending his daughter's graduation from high school and had earbuds in for the show. Man's game, John. Love that. So we're all set. We're all back up. Let me give you a quick recap. You would recall last week I did an interview with, I guess, what's my second cousin? He's my first cousin. Is his kid my second cousin? I guess. My cousin's kid, let's just say that, Ben Volpe. He turned out to be a champ last week. First time on the show, talking about JDRF and his diagnosis with type 1 diabetes 8 years ago, 14 now, was 6 when he got diagnosed. And we were doing that telethon kind of a thing to get him to $6,000. And right now, I have a total for you. After the show, after other donations throughout the week, not only have they met the $6,000 goal, but they have increased to $7,000. They're currently at $6,500. So if you are so inclined, go through my Facebook page and troll down through the posts and find the Ben Volpe post that I had made last week. Click on that and make a donation. You have all the way through the week. The rest of the week, I believe the walk is on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, on the 10th. So check it out. Make a donation if you can. Let's see if we can't push him to $7,000. Nobody matched my personal donation request, where if you could do a singular of 500, I would match it. Here's the good news. I'm still going to kick in 500. That's right. Not just because it's my cousin, but it's the right thing to do. And the show can do it. And it's great. So congratulations again to Ben on a successful trip into the Barbecue Central Show jungle. You sounded great. I listened back to that interview again this afternoon just so I could reacquaint myself with it. And he talked very well, man. Ben, I'm very proud of you. You did great. And you kind of laughed at me when I said I did a half marathon, and you knew I was dropping a line of BS. Thank you for that. Now, I do want to make a special mention to one of the show sponsors. I briefly talked about him as we got into the Emily Park interview, which you guys did not necessarily hear, or you heard 50% of that whole interview. And that is one Dave Bosca of Butcher Barbecue Products. Dave snagging yet another grand championship this past weekend at the Boots and Barbecue Festival in Claremore, Oklahoma, with a 702.2. I think everything that Dave has won this year has been 700 plus. That's a lot of 700 pins that have been going Dave's way. Good job, Dave. Also, he's sitting third overall in the KCBS Team of the Year points race right now. By the way, thanks for the new product hookup, Dave. Sweet Chipotle rub, the new Grilling Addictions flavor, which I believe is like Dave's private blend Grilling Addictions flavor. And, oh man, just when I thought my favorite grilling oils flavor was butter, we may have a 1A, 1B. Dave has now come out with honey grilling oil. What? Yeah. So once again, not over-the-top flavor profiles. Honey kind of sits in the background, not in-your-face honey. And depending on what kind of honey you get, like if you eat real good honey, I mean, that flavor profile is right up in your grill. Not necessarily in a bad way, but nothing that you can ignore. Dave sits behind the scene a little bit. I got the products on Saturday, took them outside. Neighbor Desmond was out. Actually, Neighbor Desmond was sitting across from me this evening about 15 minutes ago, and I had nothing going. I saw a call, and then I did. Oh, somebody's calling in. Ooh, this is going to be great. But there's no caller's name. I can't pick it up without name and where you're calling from, right? Right. So I took the stuff outside. We made chicken wings with the new Grilling Addiction seasoning, and everybody said that the flavor was outstanding. That's number one. We did the sweet chipotle rub on country-style ribs, pork tenderloins, and a pork loin roast, or a pork roast, I think. But started with the honey butter to adhere the rub, cooked to 145/150. Then, when we tented everything to kind of keep warm, because we were collecting all the food, we hit it with the with the honey grilling oil again right over the top to let it soak in. Gave it that nice richness that you like from a butter and a little bit of honey in the background, which works great with the sweet chipotle rub. Oh, man. Highly recommend, if you're in the market, you're a fan of the current Butcher Barbecue products, you got to give it a try. If you're on the fence about giving these Butcher Barbecue products a try, you have to do it. You got to do it. That's all I can tell you. Right now, I have to go to my Facebook page and pull this up because this is completely unbelievable. I gotta get it in a better shot here. Look at this thing. I don't like the music playing in the background, but that's a whole bacon sandwich getting drizzled in cheese. Is anybody eating that? Look at this thing. Can I please kill that sound? Thank you. Holy moly. Look at that thing. I'm trying to get it in a way that is not as obnoxious. I want to just see it in a regular post. Is that possible? No, of course not. Let me see if I can't play it for you again. Look at this. Wow. What is it? 10 pounds of bacon stacked strip on strip on strip on strip. One bun at the bottom, one bun at top, and then cheese whiz getting danced all over the outside. Holy moly. But as I had said in my Facebook post, Nobody's really eating that, right? I mean, is anybody else seeing that? Nobody else is eating that. I guarantee it. I guarantee nobody's eating that. All right, so we're kind of where we want to be. I don't think anybody can hear me on this. Can it? Check. Yep. Well, let's just give it a try and see what happens. You're on the air. Go ahead. Hello? That doesn't seem to be working at all. Let's see where we're at. Caller, you're on the air. No. That's not working. Sorry. That's a no-go.
Get that free stuff out of here.
Everything's on the way it should be. That's, you know what we call that? That's bringing the show to a screeching halt.
Get that free stuff out of here.
You know? That's what we call that. And I don't even see my microphone being on properly as well. Anyway, well, that might help actually. Well, we'll see. 10:35. Stick with me on that, okay? Keep your great barbecue takes close to the vest. We're going to go to Joe Heitzberg here in just a few moments. And then we'll get to your calls, maybe. I mean, I want to take them. Maybe we'll get them. That's what I'm saying. We'll see how the technology works out. I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grill, some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. 3 different models to choose from. You have the Jim Bowie, which is the Big Daddy. If you want to do multiple racks of ribs, multiple pork butts, a couple different full briskets, Jim Bowie is the way you want to go. It's the one that started it all. Then you have the Daniel Boone, a little bit less in size. Not as much capacity, but still family-size capacity. Both of these completely compatible with the pizza oven insert. If you like the Neapolitan-style pies, or if you want to get totally crazy, put in the pizza insert and then rip out the baking stone or the pizza stone. Put in some grill grates and then jack your cooker to 500 degrees within the pizza oven insert itself. With those grill grates, you got about 1,000 degrees to cook with. You can grill, you can do steaks, high heat cooking like you've never seen before. Right there on the Daniel Boone or the Jim Bowie, or as I like to do it traditionally, use it for the pizza, man. Nothing better than a Neapolitan-style pizza done in 2 to 3 minutes tops. Make your own toppings. Pizza party on the weekend. Pizza party during the week. It's just a few minutes. Get it up and running. Let that pizza stone heat up. Whatever your cooker is at, double that temperature. That's where you're at on the stone, and away you go. Now, if you want something that's truly portable, the Davy Crockett is something that you're going to want to take a look at. Not only can you take it wherever you want to go, if you're a camper, or if you're a backyarder, if you're somebody that likes to go on camping trips, if you don't have access to power, Davy Crockett doesn't even care. You can plug it into the 12-volt accessory right in your car. It's great stuff. And you're not sacrificing a huge amount of capacity for portability. GreenMountainGrills.com is the website. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. Crowd Cow Talk coming up after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
The segment being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. And if you have Alexa or Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. Hey, what if I told you there's a service out there right now that would allow you to actually buy a portion of a cow and then it's shipped to you for consumption at your leisure? Interested in learning a little bit more about it? I can help with that. Let's head to the hotline and welcome in co-founder of Crowd Cow. It's friend of the show, Joe Heitzberg. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Absolutely fabulous, Joe. Appreciate you making time for the show this evening, and a bunch of different places that we can run to this evening, of course. I guess before we get into your Japan exploits, of course, that book, Craft Beef, To Beef or Not to Beef, I certainly want to talk about that. But for the folks that are just tuning in for the first time tonight or haven't gone back through the extensive archives, can we get a little recap on you professionally and then how you got involved with Crowd Cow and what that vision is?
Absolutely. So, I'm Joe Heitzberg, co-founder and CEO of Crowd Cow. Professional background, I was born in Texas. I grew up in Idaho. I moved to the big city, Seattle, and aside from a couple of years in Boston, I've been here ever since. Love it here. Worked in, in Idaho. My parents were both computer people, actually, so I was not around farms or anything, and more closer to computer chips than potato chips, I guess. So I came up to school to study computers and all that stuff, and this adventure in Crowd Cow is very recent turn of events in terms of I'm spending half my time on farms and loving every day.
Hey, Joe, do you have the call-in number here to the show by chance? The connection's not that great.
Oh, no. Can you text it to my cell phone?
Yes, I can. And let me see if I make sure I didn't delete you. Okay, there you are. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. And just use that to call in, and we'll probably get a better connection that way.
Okay. Are you recorded live, or is this going to be edited? Or
oh, yeah.
How much time?
We're recording live, so dial right in. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
All right, let me get the text, and I'll click it.
No problem.
Thank you.
There we go. What's the mantra of the show? We do it live.
We'll do it live.
Right.
Well, do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
No doubt. Hey, Joe.
Hey, is that better?
Oh, my God. Night and day. Great. Thank you.
Oh, that's good.
Great.
Good to hear it. Okay.
Yeah, so
right on.
When did Crowd Cow become a thing for you?
About 3 years, almost exactly, a little more than 3 years ago, we were, at that stage, it had probably just graduated off the napkin. And we were, probably 3 years ago, we were talking to farms, actually building a little website, try to test the idea. We'd already gotten enough to know that people would like to have access to quality beef that they can't find in stores and have a direct connection to the farmer who raised the animal and feel that connection around the dinner table with them, and they just didn't have a good way to do that. So we had this idea, if we traveled to farms and met them and learned and got to know them as people, and we could showcase who they were and how they did it uniquely, the breed, the unique terroir, if you will, what the animals fed and the different kinds of grasses and flavors and all of that, and really bring that to a website where you could very quickly learn and understand exactly what you're buying, that people, I want that. The antithesis of what you get at the grocery store, which is it's a commodity. There's a couple of different labels that are confusing. Organic, what does it mean? Grass-fed, what does that mean even? Farmers were telling us that there are different kinds of grass, and farmers were telling us that that organic thing doesn't mean anything. So we were like, wow, let's just tell your story, and why don't you tell us what you mean, and let's bring that to people. So we were 3 years ago today just preparing to sell the first cow, which sold and shipped just in time for July 4th. That was what I remember. My wife and I packed that first cow. It took us 12 hours to pack the orders. It was difficult, to say the least, but we got it done.
When you are buying a share or you become that stakeholder, if you will, is that cow already butchered, or is it still like finishing or grazing, or how does that go from becoming a stakeholder to the existence of that current potential steak?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, in the business, what we're doing is working very deeply with the farms we work with. So we're, you know, working on their seasonality and their production, so that we can, you know, so they can rely on us and we can rely on them. So at this point, you know, one cow at a time is how we buy and sell them, but we're really working way ahead on the calendar, and that's for their benefit, the farms, and also for customers, so that you can place your order, get the exact cuts you want, and have it delivered the very next week or just in a few days.
So is the meat shipped from the rancher, or does it go through some type of a, I guess for lack of a better term, a crowd cow approved facility to finish?
The meat is coordinated with what we typically are working with is little farms all in different regions all across the country, and regional processors in those areas. So the most typical scenario would be like these farms have a co-op. They typically will form co-ops. This is what's noticed as a pattern. Mm-hmm. And that co-op will share common resources like slaughter under USDA, et cetera. And then they'll typically be small mom and pop butchers or larger ones in that general area. So we'll come into an area, find the very best farms in terms of the quality of the meat and uniqueness of it and practices, and work with them together to coordinate that whole process from, you know, we're always purchasing the whole single animals, and then we're coordinating that supply chain. And in most cases, in all cases, we're bringing the technology. It's kind of the boring stuff on the back end, but it's really important to coordinate that whole process together with software so that it's for everyone smooth and efficient. And then for farmers, they're getting data back that they've never had before, like how do my animals yield, or how much marbling do they have, or what did customers think of it? Was it good? Was it tasty? They've never had that data before, because if you're a small farmer, typically you're a price taker in a commodity market where, you know, you sell animals off and you don't know where they go, you know, typically.
Joe Heitzberg joining me here on the show, co-founder of Crowd Cow, the website crowdcow.com, if you want to check it out here while we're talking. Joe, I think we first had our conversation about 2 years ago or so. From that point to where you're at today, how has the company grown, and what kind of success have you seen?
It's grown tremendously. And the thing we're doing that's really unique is 100% of everything we sell is from a single, unique, named farm. So the Crowd Cow, you're going to know, like, literally the first name of the farmer and exactly where it came from. Whereas in contrast to the beef world being a commodity, you know, the person behind the counter at the grocery store can't really tell you even what country it came from. And a lot of stuff that's labeled product of USA is literally because it was shipped over from another country, and then when it got cut down into steaks in the U.S., and they're allowed to say product of USA. So, and then you slap a label on there like grass finished or whatever, just to give you, the consumer, some indication of what it is. But we're very, very different from that world. So based on that, you know, it's resonated with people from day one. They said, like, that's just refreshing to know, like, oh, Angus is different from Piedmontese, or to have Wagyu, you know, from a breeder who got some of the original animals from Japan before they banished the export of those of that breed from Japan, and they're artisanally raising that herd here in this location in, you know, Southern Oregon or whatever it may be. And to be able to buy that beef and know exactly the backstory and how it was raised and the, you know, family that's been doing it for multiple generations, and have that connection makes that experience of that meal just much richer. Not only that, but the beef is incredibly much better, just night and day. So that, based on that, we had always enjoyed a lot of word of mouth. You know, the first cow that we ever sold was an email to 100 friends, but it sold in less than 1 day, which was, you know, $6,000, $5,000 or $6,000 worth of meat in 1 day. And it was people, even on that first cow, there were names on that list that were not friends of ours. They weren't the 100 people we we emailed, they were the friends of friends. So it was like, there was completely resonant, like, wow, this is cool. I'm going to go tell 2 people. And so we've had a lot of that word of mouth. And for the first year and a half of the business, it was really just keeping up with that and really wanting to do a great job in terms of like, you know, we want to make sure that the farms that we work with are very well vetted. Like we've never sold anything that we didn't actually spend a lot of time walking around with the farmer on the fields and that we tasted the beef and that we vetted in that community their reputation and so forth. And that legwork takes a lot of time. So for the first, you know, I remember first 6 months, we weren't even up to selling 1 cow a week. Far from it, you know, at that point. So at this point, you know, we have farms in all over the country, and close to every major metro, pretty much. And then we're able to service people, you know, whether it's, you know, if someone lives in the eastern quarter of the United States, they have a ton of local beef producers they can choose from, or they can pick some beef far away from them that have some interesting characteristic that they can't find in their local market because it grew up in a different environment. You know, a lot of breed choices in different areas are different because the environment is different in those areas. It's different to raise a cow in a freezing cold Montana than it is in hot Texas. So the breeders adapt what they're raising and how they do it, and that affects the flavor and quality of the beef in different ways. It makes it really fun to explore.
How many ranchers are you currently working with right now?
It's in the many dozens at this point, and we're adding a lot all the time. We have a huge backlog of ranchers that want to work with us, and we do work from that list to try to surface the ones that would make the most sense in terms of, you know, we're looking for the highest quality. We're looking for unique, high quality beef, and that's different from other beef we already have. We're looking for, you know, great family story and multi-generational qualities to it, because those are the ones that tend to be, you know, they're not just clocking into some, you know, companies. People work and they clock into a job and they clock out. And, you know, they just, you know, the big beef companies just care about lowest cost feed, highest calorie meal, pack as many animals together as you can. We're not interested in that stuff at all. We're interested in, you know, well, my great grandfather started this, and he had the original DNA from the original Angus herd, and we kept that close herd DNA for all these years, and here's how we do things, because that's how I grew up on the farm and learned it, and we're interested in that, because that's for one, it's just better beef.
Joe, this time of year, you see a lot of barbecue and grilling cookbooks come out. You also release a book, Craft Beef, To Beef or Not to Beef. What can you tell me about that book, and why did you feel that this was a time to have it released?
Yeah, I mean, so the book is called Craft Beef, A Revolution of Small Farms and Big Flavors. And it's a journey into this world of craft beef, which is small producers with high ethical standards, dedicated to high quality in small batches that care. And it's to tell their stories and also the stories of chefs and butchers and others who are enjoying that exploration, which for us, at least at the time that we got into this, was totally new, you know. So the book started, the backstory of the book was, you know, we would go out to these farms and just walk away with our jaw just agape at things we'd learned that we'd never been told or never read. You know, on Google or researching, we're trying to learn for our business. We go talk to farmers and they would just blow our minds with information we never considered. So, for example, you know, in my mind when I started 3 years ago, I was like, well, there's grass-fed beef and there's grain-finished beef, right? Yep. Those are the two types of beef. And one of the very first things, was like the first or second ranch I'd ever met with. I'm driving out there and I saw a sign that said grass-finished beef and I had a phone number. So I got to the farmer and I said, oh, by the way, I saw that sign with the phone number down the road. Is that yours? She's like, no. I'm like, well, can you introduce them? Because we'll be looking for more grass-fed beef. And she's like, I could, but you probably don't want their beef. And I'm like, why not? It's grass-fed beef. Grass-finished beef, right? 100% grass all the time. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Grass-fed and grass-fed, grass-finished are different. Right. That's grass-finished, that's what I want. And she's like, well, you don't understand. That ranch doesn't have enough grass to feed their animals. Oh. So in the winter, when grass doesn't grow, they don't have enough grass to feed them. They're not buying grass in the winter. And I know that because I'm the one that sells it. I have enough extra grass that I provide my grass to all the farms around here.
Wow.
They don't buy it. So their cows are skinny, and they're going to taste tangy and weird. And I'm like, oh my God. Mind blown. Then I'm in, Montana walking around, and they're like pointing at the grass. They're like, this is the Montana clump grass. High protein, even when it dries out and turns yellow. All of the grass degrades its quality when it turns yellow. So I'm like, whoa, mind blown again. That there are different kinds of grasses, right? Or grain finished beef, my first grain finished craft grade, pasture raised beef. Animals out there on hundreds of acres, roaming, pasture is natural, horseback, the whole herding cattle, all that stuff. And then they're brought down to be fed out with grain. So I meet the farmer, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, first of all, like, why do grain finished? Like, do grass finished. You'll make more money. It's a bigger market. It's the trendy thing. And he looks at me and he goes, well, grass doesn't grow out here. I'm in eastern Washington where it's dry. I go, okay. He goes, yeah, I guess I could truck it over the mountain pass in trucks. That's the only way I'd be able to get grass. But then that's not really a good environmental thing, is it? Like to irrigate, that would cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm just like, yeah, I never thought of that. So, okay, what is the grain you use or whatever? And he like points over to his left and he's like, see that cornfield? That's it. I grow the corn. That's what we've been doing for 3 generations. I go, okay, so you grow your own corn. That's the grain. Okay, get it. And up there in those hills, we were just on horseback, like hundreds of acres, open pasture, beautiful country. These animals are so well cared for. I'm like, where's the feedlot? And he's like, you're standing in it. It's right here. We're in the feedlot. I'm like, this isn't the feedlot I saw on, Cowspiracy or Food Inc. or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is a feedlot? There's got to be this is crazy. This is grade finished, but I thought it was associated with all that industrial stuff. No, this is beautiful. This is wonderful. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to be the buyer of beef that says you got to have this label, this sticker. It's got to be great. Why are you doing grain? Screw you. I'm going to be like celebrating what you do. 4th generation farm, growing your own corn. This big open feedlot that looks like a pasture. Like, what the heck? This is amazing. This is wonderful beef. And so our thing became, our light bulbs were like, we're going to be not telling producers what to do or consumers what to eat. We're going to make those two worlds connect directly together, and we're going to give people access to this incredible, rich tapestry of beef that they don't even know exists. And how exciting is that? And then write about it. All these little stories and anecdotes are going to go into a book. So, we decided instead of just blogging about it or whatever, let's actually research it in more depth with rigor. Just interview a ton more people. Let's wrap it all together into a book. And of course, what better name than craft beef? So that's what we did. And the book just launched on Saturday, just a couple of days ago.
Nice. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about before I let you go, and I appreciate the time tonight, Joe, is the olive feeding cows that I think that's over in Japan, like in a very hyper-specific region, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about like how that whole thing came about and how quickly you guys sold out of that.
Yeah, so about a year, so I was, funny enough, I was 25 years ago, I was a double major in Japanese and computer science in my undergrad. And I spent about a year and a half in Japan learning language and 5 years studying it, so I was pretty deep in. And I also lived on a farm in Japan, ironically enough. That was my farming experience. And on my 20th birthday, we actually roasted an entire Wagyu cow. Then I forgot about beef for 20 plus years, and I didn't speak the language for 10 years. Until this company, of course, and when the company started going, people were asking us for Kobe beef. So I'm like, I gotta do it. I gotta figure this out. What is it? How do you get it? Who are the people? I started cold calling Japan. When I got to Japan and I was meeting people at the slaughterhouses in Hyogo Prefecture, where Kobe beef comes from, a place called Owaji, where 70% of Kobe beef comes from, these guys were telling me all of the cool, interesting beef types that were in other parts of Japan. And one of them that really caught my attention was olive-fed Wagyu. Because it's like a tiny little island called Shotoshima. in a remote province, Kagawa, where this old man had figured out, it's very famous for all its this little island. All the famous olive oil, the best quality olive oil in Japan is produced there. Best climate for that. And so, because they're so remote, though, these farmers were struggling to sell their beef because you got to take a 2-hour ferry ride and then 2 different trains. You got to go across what used to be the longest bridge in the world to get to like the place that would take you to Osaka 2 hours later.
Wow.
Just like, where do you market? There are no customers for this beef. So these guys, this old man figured out, like, if I can get the pressed olive peels from olive oil production, dry them out, that caramelizes them a little bit to make them sweet enough that the cows will eat them. And then it actually will impart the oleic acid, the omega-3, the monounsaturated fatty acids from the olives into the beef itself, making it healthier, which in Japan, they measure that stuff scientifically. So this beef boosts this oleic acid, which is good for you, and is what Wagyu is known for, is the fat. So, he started doing this, and it caught on. This is only about 8 years ago that he started this, and it caught on. And so, of course, the beef guys I always talk to, like, you got to try it. It's really different and cool. So I went down there, like, cold called in the government office, and I just went down there, and I met Masaki Ishii, the guy who invented it, and all these people. And they told me, like, well, we can't get it exported because you got to go through the process through the USDA and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I put it aside, and we wanted it. I got beef from a different region, and they had relationships with a processor that was under USDA, so I could get their beef from those farms out. Did that, sold it, was successful enough that I was able to go back to them and say, help me get this beef in this other region.
Yeah.
Because just, you got to help them out, and they need your help. And
it's olive-fed beef. Let's go, right?
And, it was so great. And they started talking to each other, and then I just got a call from the government office that I met with before on my first trip out there with all of these. And they had got a call. They say, hey, our farms are asking for you guys' help and for us to talk to those other guys. And we want to let you know we're doing that. And they invited me back to come meet again and tour more farms than the one I met. The Masaki Ishii, the guy who invented it, he literally only has 16 cows right now. 16. There's not enough. So that's the bigger farms. The biggest one I met, huge farm, 200 animals. I mean, that's tiny for a cattle farm. So I got as much as I could, because you want to fill a container, make it worth the effort of importing it and all that. But, we only had it available for 1 day for less than an hour.
Wow. Sold out that quick.
It's gone further. I'm going to get more. I'm going to go back. I'll be back there in July, and I'm getting more on the way. But there just isn't much of it. There's only less than 2,000 animals total that are all of fed Wagyu in Japan, period. So they're just, that's not enough to get much of it.
If somebody's interested in like keeping track of that so they can get in on the next buy, like what's the best way to do that?
The best way would be certainly you have to be on our email list, or you'll definitely never find out about it. You follow us on Instagram, where I will be. You'll know it's coming even before we email about it, because we'll be doing Instagram stories when I'm over there, and we'll be teasing about it before it comes up. So we kind of try to generate the awareness ahead of time so that people don't feel like you didn't even tell me. So Instagram is a wonderful way to kind of get a sense for when it's coming, and then you got to be on the email list. When we did the Olive Wagyu, we also made it a stakeholder-only event, meaning if you weren't a prior Krakow customer, you just weren't eligible to go to buy it. We'd rather do stuff like that than like simply raise prices really high.
Sure.
So it's more of a reward or a gift or a fun thing for people who are committed to the cause. Super fun. And I have to say, when I talk about Wagyu, I want to be clear on something really proactive, which is when we do Wagyu, we break it down. So Wagyu means Japanese cow, and there are 4 native breeds, and 1 Kotobuwashi is really special, and here's this region and that region. We sell it, make it really special, and it's very limited. It's very expensive. But when we've done all that work and those videos and the education, we are educating the market and creating demand for Wagyu in general, so that when we have a domestic producer in the USA, they're going to sell a lot more Wagyu too.
Mm-hmm.
Because before Crowd Cow has done this with the video and education, people just kind of like read like, well, what is Wagyu? There's fake Wagyu and there's fake Kobe beef, and there's that Wagyu burger I got for $8 at the hamburger place. Is that Wagyu? It's fake. You know what I mean? So we're working with breeders in the U.S. who have 100% by DNA Wagyu. There are only 20,000 animals in the whole U.S. that are Wagyu, real Wagyu, not fake Wagyu. And these breeders that don't even sell it hadn't even sold it as meat, we were working with to sell them as meat. Like, we're getting the best of the best. But I met with one in Montana 3 weeks ago, and she has that 100% DNA, amazing Wagyu. But in Montana, Billings, Montana is 200,000 people total. So there's no customers there who appreciate what she has.
Right.
She's just artisanal and amazing and got a hold from the DNA. It's almost like a hobby/passion. And I look at it and I'm like, this is incredible beef. I've got to get this to people. And I've got customers who want it. We've got to figure out a way to get it. Who are the processors? So we're working through that now. That's kind of my view on it. But, because not everyone's going to pay $200 a pound for beef.
Right.
You're going to pay a lot less to get something approximately as good. Not the same, obviously. When Japanese use their own, Inawata rice straw in the feed, and they've been breeding competitively for, 20 more years than it ever even was exported to America, and the gene pool is a lot bigger. So all sorts of reasons why Japanese Wagyu is incredibly different than American purebred Wagyu, but my point is, we see it as all these different varieties. It's more like wine. Beef is not a commodity. Our book, Craft Beef, is to say beef is not a commodity. Come on this journey with us.
Joe Heitzberg is the co-founder of Crowd Cow. Again, the website, crowdcow.com. Check it out if you're interested. Joe, always appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
You got it. There he is. Joe Heitzberg from Crowd Cow. With
All
a crap
guests
phone
appear via
connection.
the Traeger Grills hotline.
Better than the Skype connection. Wow. Someday, that's the bane of all talk show hosts' existence, right? Is the crappy, what you're going to suffer through a bad phone connection or you're going to suffer through a bad Skype connection. Both not that great. The phone was better. Oh. And he's got a lot of great info, but man, oh man, that was somewhat brutal. Crowdcow.com is the website. Actually, the 9:35 guest, who you only caught 10 minutes of in the audio issue that I fixed, Dennis Bussow has some of that olive beef. He's a Crowd Cow stakeholder previous, so he got in on that buy, and he said it was, gone within 30 minutes or whatever. So go sign up for the newsletter, become a stakeholder so you can get in on the good stuff like that olive Wagyu, or whatever the proper way to say it is. And why not? Crowdcow.com. Let me talk to you quickly about the BBQ Guru. They have always believed that outdoor cooking should be easy because it can be, especially with the Monolith BBQ Guru Edition grill. The Monolith is the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control, greater freedom with automatic temperature control. Easily choose your cooking time and temperature and let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or barbecue pitmaster. With minimal efforts, you can now have oven-like precision at the grill and serve the tastiest, juiciest of meals each and every time. The website, bbqguru.com. That's BBQGURU, bbqguru.com. Or you can call them at 800-288-GURU, especially if you have any questions about what to order, all that stuff. Don't guess. Call 800-288-GURU. They will make sure you're outfitted with exactly what you need, and then you are off and running. By the way, if you have a BBQ Guru temperature controller already and you get the Monolith that has the built-in draft fan already in it, you don't need to get a new controller. Just hook your controller up to the fan and you're ready to rock. All right, let's try the phone thing again. Open lines the rest of the way, 216-277-2120. That's 216-277-2120. call now, go through the phone screener. He'll dump you in. I'll pick you up, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. If you have a conversation you'd like to have, or if you have an opinion on something that you heard in this show or past shows, it is all free game. Again, 216-227-2120. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
The National Barbecue News is dedicated to all things barbecue. Their goal is to introduce new people to the barbecue world while keeping the barbecue enthusiast and professional informed on all the current happenings in and around the barbecue nation. They obtain this goal by offering timely news stories, new product reviews, barbecue event calendar, and unique recipes inside their printed products, website, social media pages, and email newsletters. Subscribe now by visiting barbecuenews.com. That's barbecuenews.com. Jason King in the instant chat was asking what teams Crowd Cow might sponsor, which I'm guessing is on the steak cook-off circuit, Jason, and I believe it's zero. I guess from a business model standpoint, it would make a lot of sense for them to sponsor teams. I mean, I get that it would to a certain degree from a name getting out there standpoint and a more broad base, but I don't think that that's Crowd Cow's mantra or business plan or business model or anything that has to do with that. I think they're interested in selling cow by cow. They're trying to build out the amount of cow stockpile that they have, so you're able to turn around your purchase fairly quickly when you buy when you put in a stakeholder purchase, if you will. And as Joe said, they're continuing to bring on ranchers after they highly vet them in order to have more choices and more availability and increase that turnaround even more. Once again, 216-277-2120. If you want to try the new call-in number, I do have some books to give away to entice you. I have a Jess Pryles Hardcore Carnivore book, and I also have a Bill Gillespie, The Secrets to Great Charcoal Grilling on the Weber book. That's currently all the books I have. Now, in lieu of a book, like maybe you're like me and you're somebody that doesn't like to read a lot. And by the way, I don't know if it necessarily speaks to anybody's academic ability if they like to read or don't, so I don't know if you want to bring that around me. But I'm not somebody that overly enjoys picking up a book just to read in lieu of something else. Like, there's got to be better stuff to time kill than reading a book, like getting online and reading. It's not that I don't know how to read or that I don't like reading, but book reading doesn't seem overly enticing to me. And also, I go to sleep very quick when I read. So I'll stay away from that because I can fall asleep pretty quickly all on my own. But also, in a lot of, I'm reading all day. I'm trying to find out stuff about the show, and I'm reading stuff to get show prepped and stuff. I think we've talked about this on the Embedded Correspondence. I believe Doug Schediing, Texas Embedded Correspondent, is also a non-reader fan, or maybe that was Steve. Either one of them. It could be either one, right? Of course. Anyway, let's go to Stover. He's on the air. Stover, how are you, buddy?
Hello,
Greg. Oh, my God, it works. This is great.
It works.
Yeah. So, and you can hear me all right, correct?
I can hear you just fine, Greg. It's awesome.
Hey, Stover. Cello.
Aha.
So, Stover, you're...
Greg, I'm lost. I was in Texas a couple days ago, and I don't even know where I am now. I think I'm in Arizona.
Hey, where in the world? Wait, where in the world is Stover Harger. I. Right now, tell us where you are. Where are you?
I'll tell everyone. Fans of the Best Barbecue Show are probably very confused right now.
Hold on. Wait a second. Do we have to do this?
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
All right. Reporting live from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, we throw it to Stover Harger III.
Yeah, well, you know, the last time I called into your show, Greg, I announced I was getting married. This time I'm going to tell the whole world that I'm moving to Portland, Oregon.
You're moving to Portland, Oregon? Wow.
That's right, the capital of barbecue.
The wide world capital of barbecue. So you're hightailing it out of literally a barbecue mecca and going to a literal non-barbecue mecca.
That's exactly right. But, you know, it's about to become a barbecue mecca when I arrive.
Are you fleeing from the law?
Well, you know, I can't talk about that on a syndicated radio.
Well, of course, yeah, syndicated globally, by the way.
This is a global reach.
All right.
I wanted to talk about that video. I'm haunted by that bacon and that cheese that you played earlier on the
Now,
show.
would you eat it? I mean, I get that there's a lot of things on the internet right now that are supposed to spark eyeballs and fascination, maybe clicks, so on and so forth. But in the end, this is a food show, and we want to know if you're going to eat it. Would you eat it?
Well, I mean, anyone who's heard me on the Best Barbecue Show in the past knows I would eat it. Doesn't mean I would like it, but I'll eat anything.
Yeah? I mean, you've eaten eyeballs, correct?
I did eat an eyeball. I plucked it straight out of a pig and put it in my mouth. And right before I was about to eat it, someone said, "Hey, don't eat that pupil. It's gross." And I was like, "Well, I'm eating an eye."
So how did that work out?
Gross.
Like, was it good?
Well, I mean, it's hard to call it good.
Did it taste like chicken?
What I loved. No, it tastes like pulled pork, but without any seasoning. It was all right. But what I really enjoyed was a bunch of, famous pitmasters horrified at me eating an eyeball.
Really?
I think they'd be down.
Yeah, right. I mean, evidently they've never done it.
I guess not.
I guess not.
Well, you know, I love to punish myself for entertainment, Craig.
Well, if it's one thing that we find the media darling Stover in high regard about, it's putting media first and everything else, even potentially personal safety, second, or maybe third in some cases.
Yes, probably third.
Yeah, probably third.
You know, I love calling into your show because my favorite question is, who's Stover?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out myself. Who's Stover? Hey,
you can buy my book,
Craft Stover. And by the way, your phone connection is crystal clear, which I appreciate.
Is it? It's actually, because I'm in Tucson, Arizona right now.
Yeah, it sounds
Staying
great.
in a hotel.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
I got to. So let's do this. I'm going to attempt to forward you back to the call screener. There's a 99% chance that you're not going to be able to hear him. So after 5 seconds, if you don't hear anything, just hang up.
Well, he's got a lovely deep voice when I tried calling earlier.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, he's the call screener. So I'm going to try and send you back. So stand by.
All right.
All right. Thanks for calling. That's Stover, everybody. Let's go to line 2, and David Huff is looking to talk about the BBQ Hall of Fame. David, are you there?
What's up, Greg?
Oh my God, we're 2 for 2. This is great. So what was it like going through a call screener for the first time?
Well, the first 4 times I got to John, but I did not get to you. And then this last time I heard the show playing, like you said, on the phone, and I knew that it had worked that time. So, by the way, the bacon cheese pile, I had that last night for dinner, totally on my keto diet.
Oh, that's right. I knew.
Fantastic.
All right, hold on a second. Since we have you on, I know we got one a couple weeks ago, but where are we at on the weight loss for keto?
So Memorial Day, some holidays, some mac and cheese on the smoker. I took off keto for a bit, but the good news is I have not gained any of it back. I have still maintained where I was before I got off of it.
Oh, all right.
Positive.
So you're like on the maintenance.
Well, I have a lot more to lose, but at least it's nice to know that if I take a break for a week, that it's not completely all gone to hell.
Yeah, I get it. So now it says you want to talk a little bit about BBQ Hall of Fame, or is that just a trick to have him type something in that line?
No, I thought the interview was great. I thought Emily was very informative. I thought you asked some good questions. I wanted to ask you, how did you feel about the answers?
I mean, I think she answered as best that she could answer. I thought that one of the most disturbing things that I learned, other than the fact that I think she wanted to say that Guy Fieri being in the Hall of Fame was BS just as much as I thought it was BS, but she said it a lot nicer than I did, is that there were only 25 unique names nominated. 25. Which means that I had a 1 in 25 chance in actually making it into the BBQ Hall of Fame because I know somebody nominated me. Actually, I know more than one person nominated me. Now, it does piss me off that one person made a nomination for, so Adrian Miller nominated Columbus B. Hill, and Columbus made it on the BBQ Hall of Fame short list of nominees. Didn't make it in, but made it on the short list. And somehow I don't get on the short list. That was a little frustrating to me, which means somebody in there is actually listening and knows that there may or may be an agenda that I have. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a little shocked that only 25 unique names come up in conversation.
Yeah, if she got 75 nominees and only 25 unique names, I mean, that does seem strange. It also says, hey, you were one of 75. That's the worst odds that you're going to get is 1 in 75. You're going to make it one day.
I'm going to actually contradict that here because I bet, so that was 75 total nominations, which of those 75s, there were duplicates. I want to know how many times I'm in that 75. Is it 10 times? Is it 20 times? Is it 30 times? Is it 60 times? And people are like, he's just using it as a popularity contest. And I actually have the most nominations. I think that might be a little bit closer to the truth.
Yeah, I was going to say we should have asked, does the number of nominations that somebody receives have an impact on whether or not they're nominated?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't, or it could in the negative, which I might be more of a proponent, or I might be more of in the mindset of thinking that I had too many and so they shot me down. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I was fairly satisfied with how she answered it. She didn't seem to skirt around any questions. She answered what I figured she would answer, and when she decided to step around some stuff, she did it very professionally.
Yeah, and just so you know, I listened on Facebook, and the audio came through the entire time.
It did?
On Facebook, I heard the entire interview. Yeah, it sounded great.
All right, well,
so
I don't know. I don't know what was going on. Maybe that was just the audio only feed, which rarely has problems. But anyway, Oklahoma embedded correspondent. It's Dave Huff. All right, now I'm going to try and send you back to John. And geez, I mean the screener. And if, like I said, if you get like 8 or 10 seconds of dead air, just hang up and then email me and let me know if you got back to him or not.
Can do. Have a good one, Greg.
Thank you. Dave Huff is going back to the screener. Okay, so that's good. 216-277-2120 in a live scenario after I refreshed works fairly well. I don't know if anybody got back to the phone screener after I returned them back, but so far so good. Let me go ahead and do this last read here. Big Papa Smokers. You know, if you head on over to Big Papa Smokers, you're heading on over to the best online shop for all things barbecue. Their curated selection of outdoor cooking and grilling supplies get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. They have the great rubs and sauces, the rubs like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow. They have that agreement with Simply Marvelous Barbecue, especially if you're a competition cook, you want to hook up with the West Coast offense. Granny's Barbecue Sauce. If you're looking for the new go-to barbecue sauce that pleases everyone, Granny's traditional yet powerful flavors remind us why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place. Now, aside from the selection of rubs and sauces, all the good stuff, they have pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available. Only the best. By the way, if you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, you want to check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill. Big Papa Smokers is the exclusive Mac dealer and even offers special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Fine. Take a look at the Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts to put on his competition barbecue trailer. If you're a backyard barbecue enthusiast looking for a durable and versatile grill that will last forever, the M Grill from Texas is just what you need. They're built like tanks. Not sure what kind of grill you need? You really can't go wrong with any of the grills or smokers featured on BigPapaSmokers.com. They have something for every kind of backyard cook. Check out their website today to shop their full selection. It's clear that Big Papa Smokers is the place to go for all things barbecue. Every product featured on their website has been hand-selected to help you barbecue better. Boost your barbecue skills with the help of Big Papa Smoker, the #1 online barbecue store. You can call them toll-free at 877-828-0727 or shop their website at BigPapaSmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA Smokers.com. Let's wrap it up. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is Brian Mayer, host of Hot Sauce Weekly, and you are listening to BCRN, all barbecue and grilling all the time.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back at it. Thanks again to David and Stover for calling in last segment and working the new call-in lines. It's still under test with IPDTL, working on some things here in the background. But a successful initial test, which is great. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Emily Park from the World Series of Barbecue, talking specifically about the BBQ Hall of Fame and why I'm not in yet. She did say she's seen my name, so that's good. Then we talked with Dennis Bussow. He was at the most recent version of BBQ University at the Broadmoor, hosted by Stephen Raichlen. That's actually the second year in a row he's taken the class, so obviously good times to be had. Lots of information there, and as he had said, Stephen Raichlen, very accessible. Second hour, Joe Heitzberg from Crowd Cow. Suffered through a little bit of bad phone, a little bit of bad Skype. Good information if you're able to extract it. If not, we'll try to have him on when he has a little bit better connection going forward, because he's got some really great stories that we didn't even get to. Big show planned for you next week, of course. Let me promote it. Tuffy Stone will be on in the first hour in lieu of Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. That is by choice. Meathead has work to do and graciously bowed out. Tuffy Stone will come in and we'll talk a lot about competition stuff, his winnings, and of course getting the nod into the 2018 class of the BBQ Hall of Fame. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will tell you this: September 11th, 2001, I will never forget. And until we see you next Tuesday, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.